Ideal mesmo para o mundo atual seria fazer o ensino médio junto com o curso técnico, certo? É no Senac que o aluno tem autonomia de verdade, formação cidadã, foco na diversidade, preparação para o Enem, material didático sem taxas e muito mais. Na real, tem tudo que você precisa para se sentir preparado para a vida. Seja para entrar no mundo do trabalho ou te ajudar a decidir o que fazer na faculdade. Quer saber? Senac. Vem comigo! Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino-médio-técnico.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby!
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Leslie's about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lez Hang Out, the podcast that's willing to ruin their good painting for a chance at a great one.
Yes.
From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And here's what's happening this week. This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is somewhere that we can touch base every episode about things going on with the podcast, with our lives, or just in the greater Les universe. And we want to start, as always, by reminding you that we are making a musical. Ha ha! You may have heard. It's called The Flame. It's great. We're super excited about it. It's totally queer and super fun and tropey romancy. And also, we had another casting announcement that you may have seen last week that we are super excited about. So we are so thrilled to announce that we are also going to be joined by Jesse Nowak, who is an amazing voice actor. You have probably heard him in all sorts of video games or commercials or all sorts of other stuff. And he is going to be joining us as Harold, our villainous character.
Yes. And I feel like he's bringing a lot of like Disney villain to the role, and I cannot wait for you all to hear.
You're gonna love to hate him.
I love it. Yeah, I'm so into it. I love to hate him already. I'm so excited.
He's fantastic. We're super thrilled, so welcome, Jesse. We are excited to have you.
If you want to help us fund this big old thing, you can go to bit.ly/theflamethemusical. We have had so many people support us so far, so thank you so much for all the support. Let's keep it rolling. We also, this week, have Orphan Black Trivia coming up this Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am so excited to see everyone there. I want to see every clone representing, so you better be there your cosplay best. I'm so excited.
Just one. I'm a few. Bring some cosplay. That's how we do. That's how it goes? I think. Yeah. Cool. Other things that we want to talk about in the Greater Les universe. So I feel like I should preface this by saying I am not a huge viewer of the 100. I went with viewer. I was trying to be, politically neutral. Yeah, diplomatic. That's a good word. But we do know, obviously, we as professional lesbians,
we have to know these things.
We have to know all of these things. And so we are certainly aware of the fact that the 100 finale featured the return of none other than Alexa.
They really were trying to bring this. I will say, I'm happy for all of the fans of Clexa because, like, from what I've heard, I'm like, spoiler alerts, but, Bellamy was the other love interest of Clark, whatever. He's out of the picture. We won't say how. And finally, it has been determined this is Endgame, right? Clexa is Endgame. That has been decided, and that's great. But it's also just like, you could have just not killed her in the first place.
Well, look, that's clearly not an option in TV these days. But we did just want to highlight, so all of you Clexa fans, we are rooting for you. We're happy for you. We're glad that you got the, at least, vindication of Clark's true love.
Yes.
in that finale. So there you go.
There you go.
What a way to end it. Also, I wanted to talk about something that I found, which is a new study that just came out recently that I thought was really interesting. And it was a study where they found that 19% of trans adults in the US are parents. So 19% of all trans adults are raising kids. And I thought that A is fantastic because nothing that we love more than queer parents just across the board. And also one thing that I thought was really great is that they also said that even though, usually in a lot of these studies, like trans people tend to score lower in terms of like their overall happiness or their sense of satisfaction with their lives and things like that, because trans people live in a country that is, not the best for them. Is that a diplomatic way to say that?
Yes.
This country's trash and it's just not always great. But what I did think was great is in this study, they actually found that trans parents rate the same as cis parents in all of those categories. And so I just thought that was a really great thing to know, is that they find that, in a lot of ways, raising children tends to really be affirming and positive in trans people's lives.
I love that.
You do how you do. Whatever is right for you is right. But I just thought that was really great to know and something to think about. So I loved it. And also because, not like I'm biased as a parent or anything.
I love it. I love it as well.
Yeah.
It gives hope for the future. Well, that's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 4, our next installment and our first fourth season installment of our Lez-ssentials.
I'm so excited. Lez-ssentials is a recurring segment on the show where we will dive into classic lesbian movies or shows. We also are writing and recording original songs for each Lez-ssentials, so stick around until the end to listen to our song for the half of it, which is the movie that we're doing, and the song is called Lost and Found.
For this Lez-ssentials episode, we are going to be breaking down a movie that is definitely not a love story. That's right, we are going to be talking about the very recent, the new Alice Wu film, The Half of It.
I'm so excited. You know what's really cool too? This is a sneak peek into the life of lesbians for all of you. Lee and I were contacted by the reps for the movie, and we got a sneak peek of this film before it was even out on Netflix. And that made me feel so cool.
This was our first screener that I think have ever gotten for anything. So
really
yes,
cool.
We got to watch this like a whole week before any of you. That's just how cool we are.
Right?
That's how we do it.
And we had to wait another year to talk about it on the show.
Well, look, we are not super prompt, but we loved the movie. And of course, we love Alice Wu already. We've already covered a previous Alice Wu movie. Some of you may remember the Lez-ssentials episode that we did on Saving Face. So this we were super, super excited to see, very excited to watch, and now very excited to talk about. So I'm going to give us a quick intro to the movie. This is just the IMDb recap for anybody who hasn't seen it. When smart but cash-strapped teen Ellie Chu agrees to write a love letter for a jock, she doesn't expect to become his friend or fall for his crush.
Okay. Valid, but also she had a crush on Aster before she agreed to this.
She is 100% into Aster before he asks her.
Yes.
Like, that's not even a question.
And it's not even like she's like submerging it. Like, like that like gay crush that you're like, oh, no, I don't have one. She knows she has it.
Yeah.
So that part of it is a little weird. But yeah.
No, I love when people write IMDb recaps and it's like, you have 2 sentences and like half of it is wrong. How do you do that?
How do you do this?
Did you watch this movie?
Probably not, to be honest.
No. But don't worry, everyone, because we're going to go through it in painstaking detail for you.
Every single second.
You probably don't even need to watch the movie, but you really should.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Should we go ahead and dive in, Ellie?
Let's kick it off.
Okay, because I love the opening to this movie. It's very different. It's like one of those opening sequences with like the voiceover and the animation stuff.
And the drawing and the broken
hearts.
hearts.
And it like stands on its own, but I like it. Like I feel like sometimes it doesn't always work for me. This one works.
Yes. I will say, so when we were doing our Lez-ssentials watch party, it's always hilarious to watch with other people who have never seen the movie before when you've already seen it. And I feel like people were like, wait, this isn't what this movie is about. And you're like, yeah, it's
Right.
not. Like, that's sort of the point. Like,
But it's cute.
Yes.
It starts with it's a voiceover of Ellie, who is the main character. And she's giving kind of this I don't think anybody hasn't heard this story, right? I feel like it's like a super common, like, middle school, high school kind of like Greek mythology type of deal of how humans originally had two halves, like we were like two humans stuck together, and then the gods were like, no, you're too happy and perfect that way, so they split us apart
and made us miserable without each other.
Yes, so unhappy. And so you spend your whole life looking for your other half. And it's a great animation. I love whoever did this, the sad little paper people.
Yes.
Floating around. It's also that first kind of water reflection visual that's gonna come back around for us later.
The water, I cannot wait. Too far from now, but yes.
But it's also, I think what's great about it is when you watch it again, knowing that, like, it's something that I really love about this movie is everything has a meaning, right? Like, Alice Wu went hard. She didn't have to go this hard. She did.
Yes. Yes.
She went hard in this movie.
Metaphors,
and like everything
everywhere.
it's imagery, it's meaning, it's everything kind of ties back to itself and ties together, and there's so many layers.
I love it. We're gonna peel them all back. But after this, it's all the beautiful, like, love, and then whoever wrote this story clearly had never been to high school, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, let's transition to modern day high school in what I think the official name of the town is West Bumfuck Nowhere. Yeah.
Squamish. But yes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yes.
I must have pronounced it wrong. The emphasis was wrong.
You pronounced it a little incorrectly, but close. Close.
Well, I'm not a local, so I'll keep practicing.
Yes.
Yeah, we introduce the high school and we meet Ellie. Oh, hey, Ellie.
I know. I love that her name is Ellie. It makes me very happy, of course.
I knew it would.
Of course. Ellie is our sweet little nerd girl, Ellie. But what I love about Ellie is she also subverts a lot of these tropes. Like, she is this little nerd girl, but she's more self-assured than you would think.
She is in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some ways,
yes.
yes.
In some ways. There's like parts of her where she's very confident, and I think we get a quick intro to that in this scene, right? Because what we kind of do is we transition from the voiceover that she's giving transitions into her actually writing somebody's philosophy paper for them. And she's a great writer, and she knows that, right? And I think that's the part of herself, like the literary, academic, brainy side of her, I think she is very confident in.
Yes.
And so that's how we kind of meet Ellie, and that's how we meet the fact that she runs a side
She runs her
hustle.
own business. She's an entrepreneur. Yeah. She's selling, she's selling her craft. She's making it work. She's writing papers for all of the less intelligent children at school.
And I love it because it's also like it's not just she's running a side hustle that she's like confident about, but like her English teacher is totally in on it, she very much knows, and she's like, 5 different takes on Camus, huh?
She's like, honestly, I don't care because I'd rather read your papers than anyone else's, which is actually a hilarious take. And I mean,
that's real though.
Yeah.
I could see that.
As an adult who has teacher friends, I'm like, if I were a teacher, like, would I be like, you know what? I'd rather read 5 good papers than 5 horrible papers and just know that that's what you're doing. It's fine. It's fine.
Right. And since this movie and since Ellie as a character attempts to be as like pretentious as possible.
So, oh my God. Part of the drinking game, anytime Ellie makes a pretentious reference.
Yes. So I did go and look up what I thought was a relevant Albert Camus quote.
Okay, great.
So I came up with this quote that I think I love for Ellie in this movie, and it's, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer."
Oh.
Because I think that's what this movie's about. It's growth.
It is.
You know what
growth.
that is?
It is
That's
growth.
growth for Ellie. That's what this movie is. So we jump from Ellie as like the smart, confident literary entrepreneur of her high school to the other side, the other half. But you're welcome, folks. I'm here all week.
Of it. Yes.
The other half of Ellie, which is her riding her bike home, and we get the bullying.
Which is honestly so rude, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, every time I see high school bullies, I'm like, why? Just
Why? Why are you
just
like
in
this?
general, why are you like this?
Yeah.
But yes, we see that. It's very sad for Ellie, and she will eventually have an ally and a friend, which is what's so great about this whole film. So
Yes.
screw the bullies.
We get her on the bike, the truck driving by. Her
Chugga chugga
last
choo
name is
choo.
Chu, so Ellie Chu. That's apparently the best they could come
Honestly,
up with.
brilliant.
Is
They did a great job. Yeah.
Chugga chugga choo choo. It is actually what I do like about it is it seems like it's stupid until you learn about the trains.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Right? Like I'll give them that much.
But still,
She does do the trains. So like fair play to the high school bullies. That's what I'm saying. Is that what I'm saying? That's
No.
what I'm saying.
they're still idiots. But yes.
They're still
But the
idiots.
reason that she's Chugga Chugga Choo Choo is because we find out that Ellie's father is the station manager, and she takes over a lot of his duties of running the actual trains and sitting in her little booth.
Dad needs some therapy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Poor
love him, but
Dad.
he's a slightly broken man.
Yes.
And I love that, like, this is our crash course to Ellie Chu as a person, right? And so we have, like, she's very smart, and she's shopping herself out to write papers because she can make a easy dime off of her idiot, like, you know, high school colleagues. What do you call them? Peers.
I don't
That's
know.
the word.
Peers, yes.
Colleagues, they don't work there.
No.
And the last piece of the Ellie Chu puzzle that we are going to get is girl is gay.
So
Capital
gay.
G.
So gay.
Well, also she's a musician, but most importantly, she is a gay musician.
Gay musician.
We get this scene in the choir, right, where we meet Aster.
Aster. Beautiful Aster.
Sweet, beautiful Aster, like a damn belle with her head in a book and everybody talking about it.
I know. Literally the weirdest line. She's always reading, that girl. Like, why are you so angry? Like, there literally is a line where someone's just, like, pissed off that she's reading a book. Like, it's fine. Like, why do you care? But yes, Aster's always reading. Ellie loves books. They're perfect for each other, right? Except Aster is popular.
Yes.
And Aster is beautiful. And Aster has this annoying ass boyfriend, Trig.
Ugh, Trig.
Who
Trig is my nemesis in this movie.
Trig is the worst.
I cannot with him.
But we do find out that Ellie's gay. And the one thing I love about this film is that we have a gay high schooler, number one. And like, she's been gay, like what? How far into the movie is this? Like 10 minutes.
Yeah, not very.
10 minutes. Aster is singing like an angel, and
Yeah.
Ellie is just staring.
That look, man.
And you know that is a gay look. Like they're not hiding it.
This is where we see Paul. Paul hears Aster singing too. So they immediately set up the love triangle for us, right? So it's like you get that Ellie is gay and that she's in love with Aster. You sort of see Paul outside. We haven't officially met him yet, but you sort of see him hearing Aster sing, and so you realize like, uh-oh, there's this boy and he's in love with her too. And this is where we get the really important crucial sentence from Ellie where she says, "This is not a love story." And I want to highlight that because it is something that I saw a lot of responses, and I still see a lot of responses when people see this, that they are upset that Ellie and Aster, spoiler, don't end up together. That's not what the movie is. And I think that the movie itself, like, very clearly tells you that from the get-go. Like, we are not that far into the movie. This is how they set the scene for us. Like, this is not a love story. It's not a story where everybody's going to get what they want. That's not what it's about. That's not the point of it. And so I just want to highlight that now because I love the end of this movie and I will hear no other arguments. No, you can argue with me, but I think that's the movie itself, I think, is telling you straight up, like, if that's what you're coming looking for, you will be disappointed.
Yes. And I think like that's what's sort of great about this movie, because we're always talking about like we want different stories. Like, yes, we want happy stories. I would say this is a happy story. In my opinion, it's a very happy story. But we want high school love stories. And like it's not a love story in the fact that like the girl gets the girl, but there is love.
Yeah,
It's
not a rom-com. It's not a happy ending.
Yeah,
it's,
but there is a lot of love here. So I'm excited to talk about the different types of love that we can have in our lives and all that stuff. I think it's exciting.
So from there, we move to meet Paul. This is, we do get the scene where Paul asks for the letter, right? So Paul poor Paul. I swear, I think Paul is my favorite character in this movie.
He is such a sweet little golden retriever. He is.
I love a himbo. I'll tell you what. He's great. I feel like Paul reminds me of like how much I loved like PETA sometimes in like the Hunger Games.
I was Team Gale all the way, but you know.
No, PETA for me.
What are you gonna do?
So Paul is our giant. He's such a puppy. And he's in love with Aster, and he knows that Ellie writes for money, and he wants her to write a love letter.
Is this is before she bumps into Aster that he asks for the letter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. And Ellie is not about to do it because she's in love with Aster.
She's in love with Aster, and I think she also realizes, like, there is not a great connection there. I feel like she's trying to, like, lead him away from this, right?
She's
also,
like, Aster's not the girl for you.
Right,
Aster's
and also,
the girl
like,
for
You're not wrong, Ellie.
Yes.
And also, I think, like, the morality issue, I think, sort of, you know, like, seems to be more at the forefront of her mind here than further into the movie, perhaps.
Yes.
Because she's like, it's not going to be authentic. And like, poor Paul, he's like, I can pay more for authentic. And you're like, oh my God, Paul.
That's not the point, Paul.
That's not what authentic. I don't think that means what you think it means. You probably don't think about what it means at all. But what I do love, because there's another scene that happens before they bump into each other in the hallway. And I think they're very important because there's this scene where she meets Paul and he asks her for the letter. And there's the scene where she goes home to her like very depressed dad. And he's watching Casablanca.
Yes, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that because that's exactly the line that I think is important, right? Because the dad is constantly watching these movies, and we find out later that her mom had this whole thing, her mom who passed away when she was younger, her mom had this whole thing about how every song, every movie has a best part, right? And so that's what her dad does, is he just watches all of these movies and you know, is constantly saying like, shh, shh, this is the best part. And that's the best part of Casablanca to him, is that line, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And again, like, nothing in this movie is there without a reason. Like, she just met Paul, and then we get this called out best part is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Which I love. Because it is.
It is. And I think that's their friendship is the core of this movie. You know, I mean, obviously, like, we're going to get all up in our feelings about Aster and Ellie, but we'll also have some feelings about Ellie and Paul. So there you go. Now we get to your hallway scene, Ellie. Do you want to do it?
Thank you. Because this is honestly, if this scene is the only scene that occurs in this film, I'd be happy. Actually, this and the later swimming scene.
Just, you can make like a rough cut that's like just those two scenes. Honestly, no, and the end. I mean, come on. You make the hallway, and the swimming, and then there you go. Perfect. It's like a short film. That's perfect.
Well, when they bump into each other in the hallway, that's the thing too. Like, they have so much more chemistry than Aster and Paul. Mm-hmm. Like, every time they're together, it's crazy. But yeah, so they bump into each other, right? And then Aster's like, oh, remains of the day, like blah, blah, blah. And they're doing their like annoying, but also like so them pretentious thing when they're both like, oh, you've read this book, like, that nobody else has read.
But it's even before that. It's so, the dialogue, I love it, right? Because they bump into each other. Or no, it's not even that they bump into each other.
I'm Ellie
It's
too.
that Trig bumps into her, knocks all her shit on the ground, right? And Aster comes over to help her pick everything up. And yes, that's the first thing she says, is she just looks into her eyes and goes, I'm Ellie Chu. Like, the only thing that matters to her in the world in that moment is that Aster knows who she is. And Aster just goes,
I know.
Yes, I know. Ugh, girl.
I've noticed you before. Of course you freaking have, Aster.
Jesus.
Dead.
Like, come on.
It starts it all. And I will say this many times when we're doing this. Even though these letters have not been written yet, the second that first letter was written, after Aster bumped into Ellie, she should have known it was Ellie. I'm just like, it was Ellie from the beginning.
It was Ellie. Yes. So I agree. We will come back to that later. She knows, and she knows how she feels. And what I love about it too is like, you have this scene of just like, I'm gonna say barely repressed longing, right, for each other. Like, And what's great is, so I looked up the book that they're talking about, Remains of the Day, because I have never read it. But it's this whole book that's basically all about this butler named Stevens. And I guess like the whole book is him sort of reminiscing to like the past of like the house that he was working in and the guy that he worked for and the woman who was the maid of the house. And so it like basically the whole story is him sort of remembering how it's like he and this maid were like totally both into each other, but like never quite took that step, you know? And then like she left and like married some other dude and like had this whole life. And so it's like that's kind of the whole book is like this like repressed longing that like never quite got to be what it should have been, you know?
And that sounds pretty accurate
yes,
to
so that's
what we're going to discuss.
So that's what they're talking about in this scene where they're both like thirsting over each other so badly is this book that's all about like repressed longing and like unfulfilled desire. So great.
Love it. Perfect.
Very subtle. Nothing means anything. What are we talking about?
No.
So then, after that scene, Ellie is like, actually, fuck that. I will 100% write you a letter. Also, I need the money or I will not have electricity at my house.
Yeah, I think it's mostly the electricity bill that's sparking this, but also I think she just would love the excuse to write a letter to ask her about love.
Oh my God, yes. You can like see it in her eyes. She's like, I'm going to take on this challenge and I'm going to crush it. This is my time to shine. Yes, and it is her time to shine because dear God, Paul's letter, Paul.
Paul's poor letter.
Oh, sweetie.
My God, what does he say? You're pretty, you're smart, you're...
And even if you weren't, like, that would be okay, but you are.
Yeah. Oh God, you're
and
all three.
No, the best
so
part.
bad.
How does he sign it? He signs off with Paul Munsky, second string tight end.
So bad.
Second string tight end. Let's just let's analyze this a little bit. He's not only signing off as the only interesting thing about himself is the position that he plays on the school football team, but also that he's not even the first string at that position. He's like
bad.
I have nothing redeeming, and I'm bad at the thing that I do. Great. Way to win that one over. Well done, Paul. But Paul, the thing is, I feel like you could make a t-shirt with like everything that Paul says about love in this movie. So in this scene, you get love makes you screwy. This is Paul's take on love.
Yes. Which is true.
He has some cute takes on love. He tries so hard, you know.
I know. He does. He's puppy dogging, but
yeah.
It's not. Yeah. It's not love, Paul.
It's not. It's, you know, it's like cute puppy dog feelings. He's such a puppy. Oh God. He just like flops his little paws around the whole movie. I love him.
The entire movie and just like runs into things and like hits his tail on like I don't know. He
chases his tail. Really... Can't you picture Paul chasing his tail?
Yes. I mean, he chases cars, quite literally runs after cars. Like he's a dog.
You know what he is? He's not even just a dog. I feel like he's specifically like the dog in Up.
Yes.
Squirrel. He's that dog.
Is exactly true.
Yeah.
Yes, but he is sweet.
He's so sweet.
And so Ellie rewrites the letter much better.
She rewrites the letter, and as she's deciding to rewrite the letter and what to write in it, we get another, you know, like very pointed movie night with her father where they are watching Wings of Desire, and she hears this line that, again, this is the best part, is her dad calling out the line like a wave of longing to rise up in me. So this is our setting the emotional state of Ellie writing a letter to Aster. And the other thing is, so I also looked up Wings. I did so much research for this, you know? Look, I am
so proud of
dedicated.
You. I love it.
I'm a professional. So I looked up Wings of Desire. You'd think I might have like ever consumed any media that they mentioned in this movie, but nope. So I looked up the film Wings of Desire, and it is about angels who are watching over a city, and they can see everything that happens in the city, but they can't be seen themselves except by children. And it is all about these two angels, and one of them, he falls in love with one of the women that he has been sort of following and like watching over, and they can like hear their thoughts and stuff. So he falls in love with this woman and ultimately decides to give up being an angel and become mortal, to be able to experience like human life and love, basically. So yeah, I mean, again, like they're not subtle references that are being made here.
I love it. And Aster also sees right through it and says,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
basically like, what, I agree, but I wouldn't have plagiarized or something.
Yeah, she's like, I love Wim Wenders, who is the guy who did the movie, but I wouldn't have plagiarized him. Yeah, and so this is immediately where you get that kind of like flirty, confrontational undertone going on, and they start writing all these letters back and forth, right? And so this is our first, like, it's sort of like a montage, like you're just getting all of these scenes of them going through daily life, but then also like the voiceover of the letters that they're writing back and forth. Love.
From Ellie.
They're playful, they're bantering.
They go back and forth on letters, and finally Paul's like, you know what? We got to seal the deal. We're going on a date. I just have to say, first of all, like, what a man thing to do. Ellie's like, no, the foreplay's not done yet. And Paul's like, I just want to get to the sex. And you're like, Paul, calm down.
But these letters that they write, I mean, it's like, again, the chemistry that they have in person is one thing. The chemistry that they have, like, intellectually, you know? Like, I mean, and I love it, too, because it's like they are good letters, but they're also, like, so high school, you know, in some ways. And it's like they're doing all this stuff, like, Aster's going on about how like she knows that she's like pretty and popular, and like she doesn't mean to sound conceited, but like she's like, when you're pretty, you know, like
people want to make you like them.
Yeah, like people want oh my god, she has this great quote where she says, people not like them as in I like you, but like them as in I am like you. And I want to call out that quote because it's when the girl gives her the scarf.
Oh my god.
And then they all have, like, the whole friend group has matching scarves. And I just want to call out the vagina scarves that at our Patreon watch party, we had two of our patrons who were calling out the very, very vaginal scarves.
And honestly, they were great. It's incredible.
Yes. There you go.
Yes.
And then oh my god, can we talk about the bathroom scene?
Yes. So when I was trying to take notes for this, like the chronology of it was a bit fuzzy in my head.
It's hard to follow. It's a lot of cutscenes.
But I was just like, when is the bathroom scene? And we need to talk about it. So yes, let's talk about the bathroom scene.
It's now. Let's talk about it.
This is iconic. Also, like, high school bathrooms are just like a hotbed for lesbian activity. Let's be real. So
high school bathrooms are the gateway to lesbianism.
True. High school bathroom mirrors. So literally, Aster's, like, Ellie's washing her hands for honestly too long. Yes, we need to wash our hands for a long.
Hey, she was just ready for Corona.
Yeah,
okay?
right. But I'm like, all right, you're just going too hard. But really, because all she wants to do is just look at Aster, who's behind her, looking at her in the mirror.
Oh my god, ladies.
The cinematography is incredible, but also the looks. Aster gives no one else in this entire movie the look she gives to Ellie.
It is, I'm going to go with
intense.
Smoldering.
It's intense. I'm like,
it is.
Who looks at someone like that in a high school bathroom mirror who's not your girlfriend?
It's, well, you know.
Well, they are girlfriends, but it's intense.
That's what's funny is it's like they're kind of dating, but they like, Aster doesn't even know it, you know?
Yes.
It's like, it's a very stereotypical lesbian relationship.
But that's also why I think that she has to know.
She has to know. There's no way.
Because
the way that she's staring at her there, and again, like, here's the thing. Aster is kind of portrayed as this, like, she's Belle, she's got her nose in a book, and she's the pretty girl in the hallways, and like, but she's not stupid.
No.
I'm like, there's no way that Aster has, you don't even have to talk to Paul. You just look at Paul with his dumb puppy face, and you're like, there is no way that this guy is quoting Wim Wenders and discussing the remains of the day and the obvious unseen with me. Like, come on. Not in chance.
She literally, so they go on their first date, and Aster, I think, gives him Remains of the Day. She's like, oh, I thought you would like this book.
Oh my god.
And like, you were talking about Remains of the Day with Ellie. So why would you give Paul?
Well, I'm assuming because it's come up in the letters, right?
Yes, but they talked about it in the hallway.
I know. But that's why I'm saying she has to know.
She has to know. It's like
she has to know. There's no way that she doesn't know. I mean, it's just stupid. You know who else knows? The teacher knows, because she finds one of the letters and she is like, wow, well, this is sort of, you know, kind of a gray area morally. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yep.
Because it's
still
like,
does
and
it.
the teacher must have found something that was like, you know, like signed Paul or to Paul or something. And she's like, well, this sure as shit ain't Paul.
No, yeah, obviously.
Your English teacher's obviously met Paul Munsky, and she knows this is bullshit. So great.
It's so obvious. Like, you couldn't have made him like slightly less Paul. Even though
But
I
this
love
is-
how Paul is, but
This is where I think you get like Ellie Chu is still a high schooler, right? Because like any rational thinking person in this situation would have been like, I mean, I should write it so that it's still believably Paul. And Ellie's just like, fuck it, I'm going to win Aster Flores's heart.
yes. Fuck it. She's gonna love Ellie, not Paul.
She's like, I'm going to make that girl fall in love with me. And
Yes.
like, fuck Paul, this is an opportunity and I'm taking it.
Yes.
And that I think is the, like, you know, they're high schoolers. I'm like, is it right? No. But are you going to be stupid enough to do it anyways?
Yes.
Sure you are.
Yes.
Sure you are. You're like 18. Of course you are. And she does, and she goes all out because we also have, even before the date, they have that whole thing about like, you know, seeing and not seeing, and they do the painting. This is where we get introduced to like the difference between a good painting and a great painting are the 5 boldest strokes that you make.
Oh, God.
Are you willing to ruin your good painting to have a great painting, Ellie?
Yes.
So she challenges her to like a spray paint tagging contest on some poor dude's like side of his building.
Yes. And just so much of it. And then they're flirting back and forth
Ugh.
within the spray paint. It's just, their entire love story is so freaking cute.
It is.
Except for the fact that she thinks it's Paul.
Well, and again, you know, like you get this line as their painting gets painted over, and you get this voiceover from Ellie saying, "Everything beautiful is ruined eventually." You know, and I think like again, I mean, they are setting you up, right? Like they are telling you what's gonna happen at the end of this movie. It's not gonna end with a happy romantic ending, but that's okay. But yes, we do. Paul cannot contain himself. He cannot wait. He has to move to text, and he has to go on a date. So I'm gonna say this is a perfect opportunity. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about that date.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
Politics,
country music,
hockey.
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
You come to the New Yorker Radio Hour for conversations that go deeper with people you really want to hear from, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Questlove or Olivia Rodrigo, Liz Cheney, or the godfather of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, or some of my extraordinarily well-informed colleagues at the New Yorker. So join us every week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, wherever you listen to podcasts.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
All right, so let's talk about this incredibly uncomfortable date with Paul Munsky.
I think it went great. What are you talking about?
It went so well. So Paul is sitting there across from Aster, literally cannot speak at all. Talks about Nazis.
I love Nazis,
I think.
is his direct quote, which is really like, what a way to kick off a date, Paul. A+.
He's really, really trying to remember all of the flashcards that Ellie has given him. They are not working. It is absolutely painful. Are there any redeeming qualities of this date? It ends.
It does end at some point. Yeah, that's probably something that it's got going for it. Poor Paul. I mean, he's trying so hard, and he really is. I mean, he is set up for failure, right? I mean, the thing is like, Ellie did not give him a chance. There's no chance that he's going to be able to live up to this.
There's no chance for Paul to be Paul and actually be able to talk to
because
Aster.
Paul, nothing in the letters, none of this was Paul, right? Like Ellie didn't even try. This is all her, and so now you have poor sweet Paul, who is like stuck in this situation of having to try to be Ellie on a date, which like is just
he's the complete opposite of.
It's never gonna work, right?
So bad.
And so the date does not go well. And I think they're like both ready to call it off. Ellie's kind of like cutting ties, like this has gone too far and we should stop this. And then you get this this is my I love Paul moment, right? Because again, he's chasing her on her bike, which is something that he keeps doing. She keeps just riding away from him, and he, little puppy that he is just Labrador Retriever bounding next to her on her bike, getting in great shape. And so they're having this conversation, and she like once again is like, you know, just kind of trying to end it and ride away. And we get the truck that drives by, chugga chugga choo choo. And Paul
comes to the rescue.
He does. He is like, you know what? Fuck that. Like, this is my friend, because I think that's really how he sees it. And so he like chases after the damn truck and like throws a rock at them and is like, you know, like yelling at them. And you can just see, like, I think you see Ellie's take on Paul also change in that moment, you know? And Paul kind of takes this decision to like, I'm gonna work at this, like I'm gonna learn all this shit, and I'm gonna like study how to win Aster.
And then we go into this beautiful montage of them being absolute creeps.
Just the worst. I mean,
creepiest.
This is like, now we go into our catfishing segment even more, and you're like, great.
Literally.
They are studying Aster.
Let's stalk Aster at every moment of her life and see what she likes.
Let's follow her around. Let's make a detailed wall of notes, and let's like, oh my god,
I'm literally like, if Aster ever saw that creepy ass train car that just has like basically like caveman drawings of Aster's face. And like, I would literally think I was dealing with a serial killer.
Yes. It's not the best thing we've ever seen, Ellie and Paul.
No.
And this is, again, like this is, we get another, in this whole montage, we get another great Paul quote about love. That again, like, I just think it's so cute. And this is, he goes, isn't that what love is? How much effort you're willing to put into someone? And like, poor Paul. Like, his heart is so often in the right place, you know? Like, not always, but he does have his moments. And he is, like, at the end of the day, he is trying so hard to be the person.
Yes. You have to give it to him that, like, I think about, like I said, oh, Paul doesn't know what love is. But, like, Paul does know what love is, but, like, he's not in love with Aster.
Yeah.
Paul cares so deeply about people, and that's what's so sweet about him.
Yeah.
But, like, in the end, it's like he really loves Ellie, even if we'll deal with it like
the type of love that it is, but
like the friendship between the two of them, that's what makes this movie so beautiful to me, is like this wholesome, he cares about her, so he throws rocks at people who say mean things about her, and he cares about her, so he helps her get over her stage fright, and like
I love him.
He pushes her to like to do better and be better and leave Squamish. Like there's,
Yeah.
you know,
He
so
does. He has
does
a
put
very
a lot of effort in.
there is something pure about his love even when it's misguided, you know, and I love that. And I also like, again, you're getting in this whole montage sequence, you're getting all of these other things happening where like she's introducing him to new books and new plays and movies and like all of these things that they're discussing to try to get him to understand like what Aster's going to be interested in discussing. And the one of them that I love is they call out No Exit, which is and she I just love how the breakdown that Ellie gives of it, which is in No Exit, 3 people are trapped in hell, a door opens and no one leaves. Right. And it's like, I feel like this is just explaining to you this movie, because they're like, there are these 3 people. Each of them is sort of miserable for like their various reasons, and they have put themselves in this like absolute hellish situation. And at every point that like they could easily walk away from it, like they just
don't leave.
None of them do. It's like you just keep sitting there being like, somebody make the right choice, and they do
Somebody
not.
leave this. I mean, this whole time too, Aster has a boyfriend. Yes, he's horrific.
Yes,
but like she does have a boyfriend.
Oh
so,
my god!
like,
But wait, if we're gonna bring up Trig, can we talk about what I think is the funniest Trig moment in this whole thing, which is when Ellie and Paul come up to him in his truck to interview him, because they're like, oh, we'll like make up a reason to talk to Trig to get more information about Aster, and we're gonna do this like good cop bad cop thing, and so they're just like, they make up this excuse of like, oh, we're interviewing people for like a student profile on like some people who inspire you, whatever. And even though they're like so obviously not doing that, Trig's response is to just sit there in his car and be like, oh, great. And then he just goes, oh, I'm surprised more people haven't asked to interview me. And I'm like, that is
so
Trig in a nutshell.
So Trig.
Like, oh, he's so terrible. This is also where we meet Taco Sausage.
All right, and Taco Sausage is a huge character in the film, so let's discuss.
Let's talk about it.
So Paul's family is... There's a family of sausages. They're the sausage kings and queens of Squamish. And Paul is like our little sausage prince. And he is the youngest one. Prince. Think about it like...
I'm sorry. I'm going to be laughing about that for the next week. I want a t-shirt that just says Little Sausage Prince. That's what I want. Nobody will get it. It will be the most niche joke for just me.
Yeah. People are not going to think what it means, what it's supposed to mean. I mean, it can have so many meanings.
My Little Sausage Prince.
Yeah. It sounds like, have you ever seen How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days when she names?
Yes.
Yeah. What's Princess something or whatever?
Oh my God. Yeah. Names. Yeah. We'll look it up. It's terrible.
So good. But basically, I think about it like Frozen, Prince Hans.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the youngest in a group of all of these older princes who are going to take over the throne, but he wants to make his own way. And so he decides, you know what? I have all these creative ideas. What about taco sausage? And that's how we get taco sausage. Yeah, man.
Taco sausage. Can we dig deep into the literary metaphor of taco sausage? Because
in terms of this love triangle?
In terms of this love triangle and how you're basically taking like the 2 very stereotypical ways to refer to like binary gender anatomy things, right? And so he's like, I know, I'll smush them into one. And I'm like, yes, accurate. That is exactly what you are trying to sell Aster right now, is a freaking taco sausage mix of you and Ellie.
Yes, and bisexual Aster is like eating it right up. Let's be real.
Aster's like, taco sausage is what I've been waiting for my whole life.
Yes.
So there you go. Look, everything has a meaning, right?
Yes.
And poor Paul, because he does understand as well, like that his dreams of the sausage future that he wants are like non-existent. And he's so cute because it's like they have this one scene where Ellie's, I don't remember what it is that makes her be like, I'm done, I'm leaving. And she's like getting out of the car and he's trying to get her to stay. And he's like, and he brings it back to No Exit again. Mm-hmm. Right. And he's like, I have been listening and I have been trying. And he like gives this whole explanation about like taco sausage is like no exit because he knows what he wants, but he knows that it would break his mother's heart if he asked for it. He, he understands why it would break his mother's heart because, like, his grandmother died, and if his mother can't have her mother around, then she can keep making the sausages the exact same way forever and ever and ever. And he's like, so I just stay. And I do the thing that makes her happy, even though it makes me miserable, And like, It's so cute. And it's like, you get all these little things about Paul where it's like, he's far from perfect and he's far from smart, but he does try and he does understand love in some ways, and he understands that part of it, that it's like, sometimes love means sacrifice. Like sometimes love means working hard and sometimes love means sacrificing. And like, he is willing to do those things, like whether he's perfect, he sure tries.
Yes, he really does.
You're getting this relationship between him and Ellie, right? Like you have all of these scenes where she's like trying to teach him how to hold a conversation like a normal human by playing ping pong. It's very hard for him. And so they're playing ping pong and they're having, she's like trying to you're just passing a ball back and forth. You're just trying to have this back and forth and back and forth. And it's so cute because they have these scenes where it's like the first time they do it, like they're both stilted and awkward because she doesn't want to open up to him about anything. And he's also using this as an opportunity to like get to know his friend. And you can see that it matters to him, and it's cute. And like they're like slowly opening up to each other and I love it. They're both trying.
I know, it's so sweet. And then is this the first time where he's like, I love Aster because she's this. Like, what would you say? And she's like, that's not what you would, or is it later?
It's like in the midst of all of this montage. This is like a super long montage scene that kind of covers like all sorts of things. There's like the ping pong conversation and there's the ghost messenger conversations and there's like, like more conversation with Paul and then there's taco sausage night and like, so it's somewhere in there. Yeah.
It's somewhere in there. But that part gets me because literally I'm like, when you're talking about like Paul and light bulbs, he's like, oh, well, if I was going to talk about if I was going to talk about being in love with Aster, I'd talk about like how, I don't even remember what the line is, but it's like how her eyes glisten, blah, blah, blah. And like all this stuff that's like ridiculous.
Surface level only.
And then, but what does Ellie say?
Oh my God. I wish I had written them down. I should have typed them all. But she has all of these things where she's like, the way that she like looks straight into your eyes when she's talking to you, and she has like 5 different voices, and she's like all of these like really deep, meaningful things, right? Like,
and Paul's like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. And you're like, yes, you are so stupid. Okay, here, Paul, you got this. Ellie's gay and in love with Aster. And he's like,
can I tell you, the first time I watched this movie, I literally thought that he did get it then, right?
Nope.
And I knew that he must not have by the time I got to the end, but I still couldn't see like I was like, but then what? I don't get it. Like, what was that epiphany? What was that moment? Because I honestly thought that was him being like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. You're so desperately in love with her as well. But no, I guess all he's realizing is like, oh, that's what I should sound like. And I don't yet,
Yes. He's like, I don't have the right words to say to Aster and you're so good with words. That's what he's saying. Like, you still are doing better at talking about being in love with Aster than I am, even though you're not. But it's like, because she is, dude. Because she is.
Paul. But this is also, it is a cute scene in that you also see, this is where you start to see Ellie trying too, right? And like, that's what I love about this, because at the end of this movie, what you really get are 3 people who like all had a positive impact on each other, like in one way or another. The overall end outcome is positive for all of them. And this is the positive outcome for Ellie, is that you can see her open up and start to realize that she has to try as well, And so when Paul is getting upset because he doesn't know how to talk about the girl that he loves correctly, and you can see that he's upset and she can see that he's upset, and she tells him like, you try harder than anyone I've ever met, and he does. I mean, to be fair, he does. And that's what she says is like, if love isn't the effort you put in, then what is it? And I just like, it's cute that she's trying to build him back up. I love it.
I love it too. And yeah, like that's why yes, I love Aster and Ellie, but really Ellie and Paul's friendship is the biggest like part of this movie. And
this is where it kicks off. Like they finally have like taco sausage night where she and her dad try taco sausage. and love it because, of course, it's delicious. It does. I'll be fair. I mean, it sounds delicious, right?
It sounds amazing. I'm into it.
It sounds great. I kind of want someone to make a taco sausage now just so that I can like make taco sausages and then watch this movie again.
What do we think a taco sausage is? It's a sauce
that tastes like a taco. I'm imagining it as a sausage that has like the filling of the sausage would be like reminiscent of eating a taco. So I feel like it would have kind of like that taco seasoning flavor and like, you know, like taco stuff in it. Like that's what I imagine.
Okay, so I was thinking like it was a sausage in the shape of a taco and you could put whatever you want inside of it.
Oh. When you look at them eating it, it looks like they're holding a tortilla wrapped around a sausage.
Okay, so it's just a sausage inside of a taco shell.
It's a taco flavored sausage. No, well, yes, it is a sausage inside of a taco shell, but inside of the sausage are taco flavors.
All right. We'll have to taste it.
Yeah?
We'll have to ask Paul.
I know, right? Someone, please make this for us. That's what we need. I need a recipe for taco sausage. And taco sausage is cute, right? Because it's like he cares and they care and they're trying his recipe because no one ever has. And and he's so happy. Like his little puppy dog face is so happy that they're trying his food and liking it. And then they watch this movie where like the Bollywood movie with the girl on the train and the dude runs after the train and he's like, it shows that he cares. And Ellie's like, it shows that he's a moron. And then he goes, she looks sad. And Ellie goes, then she's a moron too. It's cute. We'll come back to that at the end.
We always come back.
And then what do we have? I think we have the second date.
The second date, which does go better than the first. All right, Paul, but is really saved by show up at the date. Paul still, Aster's like, we're friends, right, Paul? And Aster, you know that this boy does not want to be your friend, but it's okay. So she's like, I'm so happy we're friends. And Paul's like, yeah, friends. And then they literally sit there staring at each other, not saying a word for a very long time until finally Ellie decides to do something about it and text Aster with Paul right across from her. And this scene is so intense. Ellie's just staring at Aster being like, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. You make me so nervous, blah, blah, blah. But I'm Paul. And Paul's like, what the hell is happening?
It's also, there's that great moment where like Ellie is sitting in the car outside the restaurant watching the date and is like, this is going terribly. So she just texts Aster and then Aster looks at her phone, looks up at Paul and is like, you texted me? And then he like takes his phone off the table and puts it into his lap and is like, haha, yeah. And I'm like, you know what it reminded me of is that scene in She's the Man where like the mom like bursts into her room and she's like, I was just on the phone with dad. And then she like reaches over to her nightstand and picks the phone up and puts it to her ear and just goes, bye dad, and then hangs it up again.
Yes.
It was very reminiscent of that scene for me. And Paul's face in this where like she keeps texting Aster and Aster's just responding to the texts, but Paul has no idea what's happening. And so he just keeps giving these like, boom. They get this like great sound effect like as his face turns to look at Ellie in the truck and he's like, what are you typing? And then she's like, stop looking at me. And it's so hilarious. Good. I'll be honest. I love it. So
it's so good. But then Paul also is the closer.
He is.
And he just gets up and says, I don't want to be friends. And that was it.
And he's the closer because we find out later when they're shopping that he
kissed
totally kissed her.
I know.
She gave him a look.
Crazy. Yeah, Ellie's so cute. Well, how do you kiss someone? Clearly she's never kissed anyone and she also really wants to kiss Aster. So she's like, how do you do it? How would I know if Aster wanted to kiss me?
She'd give you a look, Ellie. That's all.
She know the look. You know the look.
Yeah. And the shopping is cute because they're shopping for the senior recital that Ellie has to do because it's mandatory for plot reasons. And when we get to the senior recital, there's no other excuse for this. Nobody would have a mandatory senior recital. So they go shopping and when you get to the recital, he has picked her out like such a cute little gay outfit. And I'm like, oh, Paul, somewhere deep down, you know.
It's so cute. Well, I love he says to her, she has like a skirt on and he's like, that's not you.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why it's like so many things. Aster knows, Paul knows, and they still like, it takes so long for them to get it.
Everyone has been lying to themselves.
If you didn't know that Ellie was gay, you wouldn't have got her that outfit.
I know, right? It's like a little pantsuit with like the button down. And I'm like, it's so cute. And the senior recital, he's so cute because of course, like the assholes at her school cut all the strings in the piano so that she can't play the piano. And so he like goes and gets her a guitar so that she can play her little song that she'd been writing about her mom. And then she sings her little song. And his little face in the background of that scene where he just has like literal literal stars in his eyes, like watching his friend sing her little song on stage, and I love him so much.
I love it so much. And then we also get Trig again. When did Ellie Chu get hot?
Oh my god, Trig. Do you like how I was like trying desperately to just skip over Trig existing?
Yes, but that line, so Trig.
And her song is so cute, and I'm just gonna highlight the little line, like, we had to get lost to be found, and I think it's cute. She's cute, and yeah, it's like everyone suddenly has that like end of a high school movie, like, you've been cool this whole time, Ellie Chu.
We knew she was.
They go to a party, she gets drunk.
Oh my god, I love at the party too. So she shows up to the party, this girl with a beanie just comes up to her and is like, Ellie, let's play, what is it? Like, Drinkers of Catan.
Drinkers of
yeah,
Catan.
I'm like, oh my god, nerd alert. But also, like, I want to play that game. Because I'm a nerd. And I'm like, of course, this girl with the beanie is like, hey, come play with the gay nerds, just like you. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, that would be my group of people like that.
She found her people.
I love it.
Yeah, and she gets wasted at the after party, so Paul takes her to his room, which, like, again, it's like your heart's in the right place, Paul, but, like, you're all still in high school, and this was a bad idea.
Yes.
But he finds the letters. She's been writing letters to, like, food reviewers in their greater metro area, I guess, like about his sausages.
It's so sweet.
Because she's trying too, and I love their friendship so much.
I know.
But it is bad because then she is in his room when Aster shows up to see him. Well, the end result is good.
But yes.
Because they go on their, can we call this their first date?
Yes, this is their first date. So Aster shows up and Ellie's like, oh, Paul is so into you. Paul, really, Paul. Very like,
yeah, super. We're not together. He's so into you.
And you're like, if this is not the moment that Aster realizes that Ellie Chu has been writing the letters, I do not know what it is. Because
well, dude, and plus, look, Ellie, who's like, yeah, Paul, Paul is very into you and like super into you and writing you all these letters and like, oh, this painting, it's great. What a bold stroke over there on the side. Anyways, what are you up to today?
Exactly. Oh, how many bold strokes does it take? I've never heard that before. Like, come on, Ellie. Like, she's dropping hints everywhere.
Yes. So they go on a date. Should we talk about their date?
Yes, I love the date. Oh my god. So Aster basically asked her out on a date. She's just like, oh wait, no. She's like, let me spend time with you. So she goes. Ellie's like, I have to go. And Aster's like, I'm free all day. And you're like, okay, you've literally never spent any time with this girl. And you're like, hey, let's spend 24 hours together. Like, clearly, you know.
Which is like the most lesbian date ever,
so
right? It's like, oh, our first date, it lasted 3 days, actually.
Exactly. So she goes and she watched.
It lasted 3 days and then we moved in together. That's a lesbian first date for you.
So she goes and watches Ellie, like, do her job. And then after that, she's just like, you want to go somewhere? You want to get out of here? The gayest line you could ever utter. And then drives her to this weird secret place in the middle of the woods. And she's like, it's just us here. We're the only ones around.
Quick, let's strip down and jump into this pond.
Yeah, quick, let's get naked in the woods.
Look, here's what I can tell you about this scene. Aster has watched Skins. And she's a big Naomi fan. That's all I know.
She's
okay.
She's like, oh, the perfect opportunity. I have never brought anyone here. I've been waiting to bring a girl here so I could have this moment.
I've just been waiting for the right girl. And it is you, Ellie Chu. Let's go to the woods and I will get naked and swim in water for you. Okay.
Yeah. Literally. I don't think I would ever do what she did with a friend.
Dude. And literally, like, the idea that Aster believes that she is still 100% straight when she is, like, stripping naked, getting into water, like, steamy water, and then again with, like, the smoldering looks. Like, she is, like, eating Ellie Chu up in this scene with her eyes.
It is crazy.
It's a lot.
Then Ellie Chu gets in the water with all of her clothes on, and Aster is so disappointed.
Her gay panic is so real in this scene. I love the second that Aster starts like stripping down, and she full on physically turns her body around, and then out loud says, "Are these deciduous trees?" It is like the most relatable gay panic scene of my life. And yeah, she does. She goes swimming in like 14 shirts. I don't even know what she's doing. She says later in the scene, she's like, I am a Russian doll of clothing. Like, she's just so uncomfortable. What friend? Okay, so
let's just keep saying we're friends, okay? So let's say we're friends. I'm just trying to run this scenario through.
Okay,
So
next
we're
time you and I,
friends.
as friends, go swimming in a pond with you naked and me wearing 12 shirts.
If we were friends and I was like, oh, well, you're probably not comfortable. If you want to wear all those shirts, you're probably just comfortable in your shirts. That's fine. I would not try to take your clothes off.
Yes.
She literally
correct.
tries to take her clothes off.
She like
takes one of
tackles her in the water.
and she takes her shirt off and puts it on her own body. It's like honestly rude.
It's a little much. And especially like the conversation that they're having, she's like, I don't think I've ever hung out with a girl and not talked about boys before. And you're like, what is happening? And then Ellie is immediately like, Paul. And then Aster's immediately like, I should marry Trig. And you're like, ladies, please
please
get
stop.
it under control.
Neither one of you wants Paul or Trig.
God. And then they're floating in the water and their faces are all mirrored in the water and it's all beautiful visually. And Ellie's like, gravity is matter's response to loneliness. And then they're like, every story has a best part. And you're like, just kiss already. Jesus.
How did they have that entire day and not kiss, actually?
Right? How do you
like,
tackle your friend
drugs?
in a pond of water, take a shirt off of her body and put it on your body and never once kiss?
It makes no sense. But it's also beautiful scene.
It is a beautiful scene. And on that note, I do want to know, Ellie, because this is where she explains to Aster the whole, like, everything has a best part. So I'm curious, what's the best part of this movie for you?
This scene, are you kidding?
Is it? Okay.
This.
I'm gonna go outside the box. The best part of this movie for me is the second date where they're texting and Paul turns to look at Ellie in the car.
Yes. It's also
I think that's my favorite part of the whole movie.
This naked water scene really gets me.
Okay. We're getting close to the end, so let's do this.
Yes.
We somehow mysteriously end that date. Unclear how that happens in a platonic way.
Yes.
But from there, things get bad. So Aster shows up. She's like kissing Paul behind the restaurant. Ellie's all like in her feelings about it. Paul scores a touchdown for the school.
The first touchdown in 25 years.
I love that because it's like so ridiculous, but it's also like so descriptive of this town.
Yes.
But Paul is like riding high after his touchdown and he channels all of that emotion and his burgeoning love of Ellie and kisses her.
Yeah, it's very, he misconstrues his friend love and he thinks he's in love. and of course, Aster sees. And I don't know who she's more pissed at, Ellie or Paul.
Both. She is pissed at the taco sausage combo.
The taco sausage has betrayed her.
Yes. It is. It has all gone wrong for the taco sausage. And poor this is like, this is worst moment in the movie because Paul finally catches on that Ellie is in love with Aster and he tells her it's a sin.
I know, and you're
going to hell, and you're like, oh, Paul.
This is a very rough part of the movie because you've been rooting for Paul the whole time, and then you really want him to react better than he does.
And he doesn't.
And he really doesn't.
He really doesn't. He has like a really, really horrible response to this. And I mean, sure, like you'll make excuses. This is the response that he has been taught. It doesn't make it right and it doesn't excuse it, And so it's like everything kind of seems bad from there. Like nobody is talking, nothing good is happening, and they're still trying. Like Paul has this really sweet conversation because like Paul is trying to understand and he's trying to understand Ellie, and the dad like thought they were dating and Paul's like no, and he's like he just has this really cute moment where he's like, you don't see her. And I think it's important because it's like such a big part of this movie that I think kind of gets called out in so many different places, is like this importance of being seen, like really seen for who you are, And I think that like so much of this movie comes down to everybody trying to pretend that they're somebody that they're not, and who's going to look at you and see who you really are and love you anyways, like what in whatever type of love that's going to be.
Yes.
You know?
And I do love to, like you said, like his initial reaction is horrible, but he does try to think about it. He like is researching. He looks up how do you know you're gay? And all this stuff. And he's trying really hard, and like he's like, I love this person. They can't like there's no way that this person that I love is bad. Right. Like I've been taught. And so at least we have like, we have a progression. It doesn't take that long to get there. Like, thank God. I don't think I could really deal with it if they like sink into that too much.
Yeah.
And so then this is when we go to the church, right?
Yes. Yep. This is our denouement.
Oh, God. This church
I'm just going to
scene.
stay as pretentious as we can for this.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is pretentious, so we can.
But also it's like perfect. So
Yes. I'm like, this movie's not pretentious, but Ellie Chu is pretentious.
Ellie Chu is pretentious in this movie. Correct. So the church scene, Trig proposes. God help us. Like, you're 17.
God help us all. You literally are seniors. You did not need to propose, but whatever. So he proposes. I'm pretty sure Aster says like, like she doesn't even say yes. What is she like shrugs?
Yeah, she kind of like stands up briefly, and like Ellie immediately is just like, nope.
Yep.
She is like the person in the back of the church who's like, speak now or forever hold your peace. And she's like, fuck this bullshit. Like, no. And so then it's like you have this really great scene where like nobody knows what's happening except for Ellie
except for
and
the
Paul.
three of them.
Well, Ellie and Paul, and like slowly Aster is catching on, right? Because it's like, yeah, you have Ellie starts giving this speech about like love isn't pretending and all of this stuff, and
love
then you
is
have Paul
selfish.
giving it's selfish, and then Paul is giving this speech, and he's like, and I mean, this is
And
where
Paul's
again,
like, love is gay.
Love
like,
is
what, Paul?
gay. That is such a perfect paraphrase of what he says. Because I love him. He is trying, and he goes, I've been thinking about how much it would suck to have to pretend to be not you your whole life. And I never want to be the guy that stops loving someone for loving the way that they want to love. And you're like, oh, Paul, you got there. Like, you are a little puppy dog.
Yes.
But he does try. And then Ellie is giving this speech again about like, love is trying and reaching and failing, and so this is where Ellie gives away, and she says, love is being willing to ruin your good painting for the chance at a great one.
And Aster goes and slaps Paul in the face.
Yeah, accurate. Good response.
Yeah, as you should.
So that's kind of like the big... that's the big moment. Like, this is where everything has come out in the open. Aster realizes, obviously, that she's been being lied to this whole time. She realizes who she was actually falling in love with.
She realizes she's a little bit gay.
Super, very into Ellie Chu. So I think there's a lot of self-realization that happens in this scene. And then we have our endings.
All right, and this ending. So I know people are going to do what they're going to do on Twitter. It's not a love story. However, we still get some good gay content. That water scene and then this ending scene. So, the ending scene, we have Aster and Ellie outside of, I don't know.
Her family's restaurant, I think. Aster's family's restaurant.
I'm so confused about
I'm
Aster's
very confused
life.
as well. I know.
She's this daughter of the pastor, but the pastor also owns a restaurant. Who knows? The plot holes are everywhere. Nobody cares about Aster's like background or family. Like she's just this creature. So Ellie and Aster start talking, and Ellie's like, oh, Aster, like, how are you? I miss you, girl.
Oh my God, she tries to be so, like, play so
like,
cool.
chill about it.
Yeah.
Like, and Aster's like, are you kidding? Like, are you serious right now talking to me?
Yeah.
But we find out Aster's not marrying Trig, thank God. Aster's going to art school to make those bold strokes.
Because you are a giant bisexual disaster.
Yes. And then they have this really interesting conversation where basically Aster is like, I think in a way I sort of knew it was you. And you're like, yeah,
part of me might have known.
No shit. And I liked it.
She literally says out loud, it's not like the thought never crossed my mind.
Yeah, clearly. What do you mean? Nobody knew. Like, you didn't have to tell us that. You literally
Yeah.
took her shirt off like 3 days ago.
We're like, look, Aster, we watched that thought cross your mind like 4 different times
So
in this
many
movie.
times. Like, we're not
Please.
surprised. We're not surprised. And so she's like, oh, well, you just wait. Like, I'm going to figure out my life. Like, I'm going to be so sure of everything, like, in a few years.
After art school.
Yeah, in college. Like, basically being like, I'm going to experiment in college and you'll see. Like,
Yeah.
you'll see. And Ellie's like, okay, so she's telling me she's into me. What am I going to do with this? And as Ellie's walking away, she's like, no, I'm going to go kiss her. And she goes and she plants a big one on Aster.
And she tells her, she not only kisses her, she kisses her, and then she just goes, I'll see you in a couple of years.
Yes.
Like, power move right there.
I know. That's why I'm saying Ellie Chu is not a nerd. Ellie Chu is...
But, I mean, she is. She's just like a hot nerd. That's the best kind.
She's killing it.
She's killing it. But again, importantly, this is not the end of the movie, because the most important thing in this movie is not just Ellie and Aster. And
it's
so
Ellie and Paul.
It's Ellie and Paul, and the final scene is her getting on the train to go to Grinnell to go to college. She gets on the train. They have this like very kind of like, you know, we're saying goodbye now. Here we go. And then Paul, little Labrador retriever that he is, chases after her train.
And it's so sweet, and it's a callback to the morons from before, and they're the 2 morons now.
And they are the morons because he is running after it, and she calls him a moron, but she is also crying, and that makes her a moron too because she's so sad. And it's like, I love this movie. I love it so much. It's so like there's just something so important about all of their relationships with each other.
Yes. I love it. Everyone needs a good ally. Paul got there. I think he's such a great ally too, and a good friend. And just like, especially for a high school movie, like your friends are the ones that are going to stick around from high school more often than your relationships. So I think it's great to have a high school movie that is all about a friendship.
Yeah.
And like a support system that you build in high school that's going to keep supporting you as you go through the rest of your life.
And that feeling of being seen, and like whether Paul was the perfect ally the whole time or whether Paul knew what he was seeing, like I think it is still something that like so many of us, you know, like whether you came out in high school or not, like I think that a lot of people, and especially like queer people, I think are going to relate to that idea that like you don't always let everyone see all of you, you know, like I think a lot of us are used to like you hide certain things.
Yeah.
And like a lot of our life is spent kind of like, you know, like figuring out it, like who is and isn't safe to show everything to, you know. And so I think that like I love this story of Ellie realizing like I can open up and somebody will still love all of like what I let them see, you know. And like that's what Paul does. And like, are they perfect? No. And are they like teenagers? Of course. But there's still something about that, you know. And it's like that's what I loved. And there's this quote that I want to read because it's from an interview that Alice Wu gave about the movie, and they were talking about, you know, like comparing it in some ways to like the Cyrano de Bergerac story because it's obviously got that like catfishing undertones and whatever. And she just had this really great quote where she goes, partway through it starts to subvert the genre and it ends up not really being about who's going to get the girl. It's really about this whole idea of going to look for the perfect other half. It's sort of the realization at certain points that it's not about finding your perfect path. It's actually that moment when you realize you're reaching and you're going to fail, but your connections with people along the way, and in this case it took 3 people who otherwise wouldn't interact, kind of collide together. And the 3 of them, each of them end up sort of affecting each other, and through their connection with each other, each ends up getting a piece of themselves that allows them to move forward and become the person they're meant to be. And like, I love that.
I love that.
I love that. It doesn't have to end with them together. It does not have to be the rom-com-y, they kiss and ride off into the sunset together. That's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is like 3 teenagers finding themselves through this like kind of fucked up connection that they all made.
I love it. I think that's the perfect wrap up. I think like that quote just sums it up perfectly.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Does that mean it's time, Ellie?
It's time. Let's do it. Q and gay, baby. Here we go.
Q and gay.
All right, question 1, Lee. Would you try taco sausage?
I would 100% try taco sausage, and I desperately want to. Somebody please make us taco sausage.
Oh my God. If we just get like taco sausage in the mail, it's been made like 10 days ago, but they like had to wait.
Here's the thing. If I wake up to like 15 different emails with recipes for a taco sausage, I will not be mad. Okay?
Yes.
That's all.
Thank you.
Question 2, Ellie. What would you have done for your senior recital? A, piano recital. B, an original song. C, a pop cover. Or D, opera solo?
Great question. I'm going to have to say C, pop cover.
I could see that.
Yeah. I competed in the talent show my senior year with my best friend Tien, and we got second place, and we were actually robbed, I think. But, you know,
I believe it.
We sang a duet from One Tree Hill, Where Do You Go When You're Lonely? I don't know if anyone knows that song, but we killed it. And the winner wrote an original rap, so they won, which I mean was also good. But
Justice for Ellie. Hashtag
Justice for Ellie and
Justice
Tian
for
at
Ellie.
their senior talent show.
We're gonna rewrite history here.
Question number 3. What was your go-to ridiculous drinking game? A, Drinkers of Catan, B, Asshole, C, Flip Cup, or D, Beer Pong?
I'm gonna go with Asshole. We used to play Asshole a lot.
I'm Flip Cup champion.
Nice.
One time, I'm just gonna keep telling stories. I don't know why. It's just coming. It's just, they're just flowing out. Have you ever played Red Rover Flip Cup?
No.
I think you call it Red Rover Flip Cup. I don't know how, or like elimination, whatever. Basically, the point is it's like 5 versus 5, and then like if one team wins, they take a player. So then it's 6 versus 4, but you still have to do the same amount of cups. And so it gets
that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Really, really intense. But at one point, I was the only person left on my team, so I was doing 10 cups, and the other team, or 9 cups, and the other team was doing 9 cups, but 9 people, and I won. And I immediately won, and I was like, yeah, and then I threw up.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's the right ending to that story.
Yeah. But I love Flip Cup because of that story.
Very nice.
Yeah. Even though I threw up.
Question 4, Ellie. Is this the boldest stroke you can make?
I'm not sure what we're asking about, but I'm going to say maybe.
Okay. We'll do a yes, no, or maybe option on this one.
We can always make a bolder stroke, I feel like I'm always trying to make a bolder stroke.
You do. You make pretty bold strokes.
Yes.
I have to
But
say.
I have made bold strokes in the past, but it's not just only one bold stroke, so it's a hard question, All right, question number 5. Did Aster know it was Ellie?
Of course she knew. Come on.
She knew.
There's no way. There's no way that girl didn't know.
No
she
way.
Knew.
Remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
I think we've done it, Ellie. I think we've covered it. So there you go. All of our many pretentious thoughts
on half of it.
I loved it.
So great. As with all of our Lez-ssentials, we also have to have our drinking game rules. So here we go. Number 1, every time Aster stares at Ellie. Number 2, every time they make a literary reference. 3, every time Ellie's dad says best part. 4, every time Trig is being Trig. I'm sorry, that might kill you. And number 5, anytime Ellie and Aster are messaging through Ghost Messenger. Number 6, anytime there's an awkward silence between Paul and Aster. Number 7, when Aster and Ellie finally kiss, just drink for it because we all want to. And number 8, anytime Paul mentions taco sausage. That one will also get you. As always, please drink responsibly and tweet us when you do.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. And so we just like to shout out some of the favorite things that we have heard lately. And this week we want to start out with a shout out to Chris, who emailed us with a should have been gay request, which we love getting. So Chris, we just want to say thank you for reaching out. We have added Phineas and Ferb to our list.
To our lengthy
list. I specifically will need to do some more research on that front. But we always love a suggestion, especially when it's something we didn't already have on our list. So congrats, we love surprises.
I also wanted to give a personal shout out to Leah Hendley, who is one of our patrons and a good friend. And Leah messaged me and was like, where can I send you something? And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I'm going to get something in the mail. Then maybe like a few weeks later, I got something in the mail and I was like, what is this? I opened it. It was a Spice World DVD.
A blessed surprise.
Literally looked at it and I was like, this is what Leo was going to send to me. I just felt it. And so I want to say thank you for that Spice World DVD. Leah heard me in our Spice World episode saying I only have the VHS and what am I going to do when I can't watch the VHS anymore? And now I have the DVD. And so that was just very thoughtful. And I wanted to say thank you. It really, really made my whole week. So thank you for that. Oh, yeah.
We also want to thank, as always, our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Jess Klaus,
Tanya Ferguson,
Danny Griswold,
Jacqueline Rose Nishino,
Sarah and Julia,
Carrie Ann Lawrence,
Danny Gunluck Tamora,
Brittany Ray,
Alana Rosen,
and Tara Gleason.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Hendley,
Liz Chen,
and Wendy K. Bartlett.
Thank you all. You make what we do possible, and we also just love hanging out with you. So thanks for being our friends. And a special shout out to Tien Tran, who sings Paul's part in our Half of It song. It's very special to me because he was my Paul in high school. He's my best friend, and he's always been one of my most supportive allies. Love you, Tien. Thanks for singing with us.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can also email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop.
We're also posting videos on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod, you will make sure to not miss any of them.
If you want to support the podcast, you can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It's very easy, and it also just makes us happy.
You can support us financially on our Patreon, and you get access to all sorts of fun perks. Lez-ssentials viewing parties. When we do our next Lez-ssentials, we had our viewing party for the half of it with our patrons and had the best time. And all sorts of other fun stuff. You can find that at bit.ly/lezpatreon.
If you want to support some of our other ventures, you can support us on Pink Start for our musical at bit.ly/theflamethemusical. We keep having more and more of you support us every week. Thank you so much. Let's keep it rolling so we can really make that goal.
If you want to get some merch, you can find our TeePublic, where you can get all of our designs on all sorts of different things like tees or crew necks, because it's getting chilly now finally, or, well, some places, and mugs for our fall cider and I don't know what else, but you can find that at bit.ly/lezshop.
If you want to find us individually, you can find me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
When I look around, I see the pieces that are lost and found of me, the reasons that my best is yet to be, the things I only dream. When I look around, I see the pieces that are lost and found of me, the reasons that my best is yet to be, the things I only dream. When I look Don't be afraid, don't hide, don't be afraid to try of what's inside. When I look around, I see the pieces that are lost and found of me, the reasons that my best is yet to be, the things I only dream, the things I only dream.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.